This video is going to look at the secondary sector of the economy. And this is the sector of the economy which involves transformation of raw materials into finished products. We're really considering here manufacturing, and under the heading of manufacturing, we may also take in construction, the construction industry, and indeed the agri-food industry, which is quite significant in Ireland. The secondary sector accounts for about 20% of all employment in Ireland's labour force, so it is significant, and but nevertheless not as big as the tertiary sector. So we're going to look at manufacturing, construction, and agribusiness. And again, we're going to look at some trends and some challenges for each of these different industries. So in the manufacturing industry, um, there are several examples of companies who are involved in manufacturing in Ireland. Of course, construction and agribusiness are examples of manufacturing, but also you have computer companies like Intel and Dell, those large TNCs, transnational corporations which manufacture. You have pharmaceutical companies, again, like Pfizer, who are big international companies located in Ireland. Abbott's is another example. You have companies who are involved in production of building materials like CRH, all examples of manufacturing. There are about 400,000 people directly or indirectly employed in the manufacturing sector in Ireland, and manufacturing firms source around about 14 billion euros worth of materials for Irish businesses. So, some trends. Well, um, Ireland is a very attractive location for manufacturing businesses due to our highly educated workforce. You know, we have several big transnational companies who come to Ireland, and they do so to manufacture here and use this as a manufacturing base. But that's high-tech manufacturing, pharmaceuticals, computer parts, um, eh, maybe electronics, the high-tech stuff, and that is and Ireland is an attractive location for this because of our highly skilled and highly educated employees. Also, of course, the fact that we are predominantly English speaking, the fact that attracts our large American companies to come here, the fact that we are a gateway into the European Union market, and the fact that we charge them very low corporation tax. These are all incentives for manufacturing industry to set up here from abroad. Increased consumer demand for manufactured products such as electronics and pharmaceuticals can create lots of opportunities for Irish firms to export. So the more people who want pharmaceuticals around the world, or who want electronics, or who want computer components, well, Ireland is producing those and exporting them in a large scale. Ireland's manufacturing industry is and business can produce their products in a quite environmentally sustainable manner. You know, we don't tend to exploit our local environment in that regard, like some countries might. And the growth of pharmaceutical firms is a really important trend in manufacturing industry, where international pharmaceutical firms have paired sometimes with Irish third level institutions, with colleges, to work on research projects, and they really have developed their presence a lot in Ireland. The obvious examples, Pfizer and Abbott's, but there are several more. There are different challenges to the manufacturing industry in Ireland, and the first one and the significant one is competition from low cost economies. So, you know, Ireland does not manufacture clothing very much anymore. They don't manufacture household consumables. They don't manufacture cheap things like toys. If you pick up any toy or any piece of stationery and you turn it upside down, you say, where is it made? It'll be made in China, or it'll be made in Taiwan, or it'll be made in Indonesia or Vietnam. Some of those low cost economies. Because things can be made in those countries for so cheap. Because the second factor of production labor is extremely cheap in those economies. We do not we have extremely high wages in Ireland internationally to compare internationally. Indeed, our minimum wage of €10.20 per hour, well, that precludes us from having any kind of low cost manufacturing. So instead, we don't make the plastic toys and we don't make the cheap clothing. Instead, we let that stuff go to Far East Asia because we simply can't compete with Chinese and Indian wages. And instead, we focus on the high skilled um, manufacturing of pharmaceuticals and of computers. Job losses. Sometimes automated machinery can allow businesses to manufacture products more efficiently, and this has led to job losses. So if you have a completely automated machinery in your factory, indeed, um, if you have mass production where it's a constant 24/7 churn of that will be automated and it'll be mechanized, and therefore jobs will be lost as a result of that. I just going back to the first point again, I should have also said that a low cost economy, um, sometimes Ireland has manufacturing jobs, even high skilled manufacturing jobs, and they're still losing those to low cost economies. About 10 years ago, Dell, computer manufacturer, pulled out of their plant in Limerick and they moved that whole manufacturing base to Poland, where they were able to operate with much lower costs. Investment in infrastructure, well, continue. Ireland needs to continue government investment in infrastructure, particularly in airports and motorways and railways, and of course also in broadband. Our infrastructure is okay in parts of the country and then non-existent in other parts of the country. And of course, a big challenge for the market manufacturing industry, as always, is Brexit, because a lot of our products are exported to the United Kingdom, and if there's extra customs considerations there, it makes exporting more difficult. Construction industry, well, the construction sector consists of any individuals and businesses involved in the designing and construction of buildings. It also includes construction and maintenance of roads, bridges, tunnels, all that road infrastructure. And of course, the major trends here are that there are lots of construction sector graduates coming out of college each year, and it's important that there are jobs available for those young people as they come out. Construction was a massive employer in the maybe mid 2000s, just before the housing crash. At that stage, about 37% of all young people were going into the construction industry. Of course, which was incredibly top heavy or loaded in favor of construction. And a lot of those people lost their jobs because of the crash. A lot of people have increased disposable income and good job security nowadays, and of course that means that they want nicer houses and they want a higher demand for housing. And of course, if people have direct employment, because the economy has improved over the last few years, not counting the pandemic, well, this has led to an increase in demand for housing as well. And Brexit is omnipresent here. Offices will need to be built. So there's possibly an opportunity about Brexit here because offices may need to be built to facilitate international firms moving to Ireland after Brexit. So, if you have companies relocating perhaps from the United Kingdom back into Dublin because they want to retain their European um, presence, then new offices might need to be built in that regard. However, there are definite challenges in the construction industry, and the main one is obviously the shortage of housing. Um, Dublin has a serious shortage of housing, in particular, and in the Dublin area, with many people unable to afford or to rent or buy their own homes. Hope we were There was thoughts that maybe the pandemic might improve this situation because a lot of people are working or working from home, and therefore that might take um, the pressure out of the housing market in Dublin, but as of yet that hasn't happened. Access to finance. So the construction firms can find it difficult sometimes to obtain loans from banks because, of course, it's seen as a risky thing. We also would have a shortage in this situation, a shortage perhaps of skilled employees. Um, there may be a lack of quantity surveyors or engineers in Ireland, and therefore people would have to be brought in from abroad. That's a challenge sometimes for the construction industry. And certainly, there are a lot of migrant workers, and some of the lower skilled migrant workers may not be fully aware of their employment rights and the minimum wage and that whole scene. Looking at there's just a chart in it's in your textbooks on page 377, and it's just looking at the average house prices in different counties, and of course, it'll come as no surprise for you to see that Dublin is the highest, and then it goes down from there. Wicklow is next highest, and as we go over here, you see Cavan, the average house price is 156,000. That's from the year 2018 or 2017, actually, quarter four of 2017 to 2018. Now, agribusiness is the last one we're going to look at. Agribusiness refers to the manufacturing business that makes products um, out of raw materials from agricultural sector. So taking meat and milk and cereals and fruit and vegetables and turning it into manufactured products. There are lots of agribusinesses in Ireland. We're looking here at the examples like Glanbia, Glenisk, and perhaps even Keogh's Crisps. Those are examples of agribusiness. The trends in this area are that new products are being brought out all the time. Agribusiness can develop new products that cater for the demand for a healthier lifestyle. You only have to consider, if any of you who were ever at the Taste of Cavan festival, all of those new agribusiness food companies in the locality. Smaller agribusinesses sometimes can find it hard to compete with larger competitors, so they can end up being acquired or perhaps entering into a merger. There's a good example of that with the Jelly Bean Factory on page 378 of your textbooks. So that's something that you can look at, a merger or a takeover with the Jelly Bean Factory. Food waste. Agribusinesses have developed innovative packaging and products that allow consumers to reduce the amount of food going into landfill. So, user-friendly quantities. And of course, there are lots of new Irish agribusiness companies. It's a massive growth market. Glenillan Farm are a yogurt company, the Glenisk. There are lots of them. Some challenges. Um, Agribusinesses may have to accept lower prices for their produce from national supermarkets because it's difficult to compete with those well-known international brands. So sometimes shops will drive down and force the price down for them. Of course, global supply can be interrupted by extreme weather, and as global warming kicks in, sometimes you will have droughts or sometimes you'll have floods. Exports. The cost of Irish agri exports to Britain will probably increase a little bit after Brexit. You're looking there again at the hassle about customs arrangements exporting to United Kingdom. And finally, there are higher operating costs because you have that high minimum wage of €10.20. It's very difficult for companies to handle that. Those are all of the considerations, the trends and the challenges for secondary industries. Again, it's just a matter of being familiar with the three main industries within the secondary sector and being able to discuss some trends and some challenges that face each one. In the next video, we'll look at the tertiary sector.